This is crime scene investigator Chris G, leading you under the police tape and into a crime scene. Join me as we discuss the ever-changing world of forensic science. Put on your PPE, ready your fingerprint brushes, and experience the drama of a crime scene. Hello everyone, welcome to another podcast. I've got with me Adelle here from the Forensic Recovery Unit, or F-Roo as it's also known. Hello Adelle.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I could easily make a joke there using the words hello and Adelle, but I won't. Okay, so I'll get straight in. So to start with, why don't we just take a few minutes to talk about you, get to know you, so the listeners can hear about who is Adelle, what it is you do, and like your life story in a couple of minutes.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go back to the start of forensics, really. I've always been interested in forensics and crime, all the programs since a really young age. Also had a real interest in sports science and the biology side of stuff.
Okay.
Loved that kind of stuff at school. So when I got to deciding a sort of course for uni, it was quite difficult to choose sort of which path to go down. I've always been a really sporty person, so really passionate about that side of stuff. But in the end, decided to go with forensic science, with the thought that I could move into sports science at a later stage if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I actually ended up doing my dissertation on drugs testing in sports.
Okay.
So that was quite a nice sort of
like mix
finish.
of the two, almost.
Yeah, exactly. Really loved that. And then I think that's then kind of what led me into my first, sort of real job after uni. So I worked in a lab for a big pharmaceutical company, and that was testing antibiotics. I was there for about 3 years. Looking back, it really sort of laid the foundation for my career and my love of lab work, which I definitely didn't realise at the time. And then, moved to work for Surrey and Sussex Police, and have been here for 2.5 years now.
I see. So having that background in lab work has kind of really set you up for the work that you do now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Definitely.
Was there a moment when you knew you were going to get into forensics rather than, say, sports science?
I mean, to be honest, I think the sports science degree that I was looking at, I think that was it a Bachelor of Arts maybe rather than a Bachelor of Science?
Yeah.
So in the end, I thought, I'll stick with the science route,
Yeah.
and then I can always go into that later. But it's definitely always still like stuck as an interest for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm still very interested at, looking at all the stats with the exercising, everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So could it be a possible career change in the future, maybe?
I mean, potentially, but now I'm into forensics, like no sort of regrets looking back.
Yeah.
It's definitely the right thing for me, I think.
Yeah. I'm sure if your boss is listening, he'll love that answer.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you work for the Forensic Recovery Unit, as we just said. So basically, what is it that this department does for the police?
So basically, the department's split into two sections, really. It's DNA and fingerprints. So for DNA side of stuff, we do stuff like cellular recovery, blood screening, blood recovery. So that would be sort of, swabbing phones, firearms, that kind of thing. Screening items for blood, swabbing blood, that kind of thing. And then everything we recover on the DNA side of stuff then gets sent off to an external forensic service provider for analysis. So it's very much the recovery aspect for that. And then the fingerprint side of things, so we get the exhibits sent to us and then we chemically treat them to enhance latent fingerprints and then examine the exhibits, see if any marks have developed, basically.
Okay. So you said the word latent fingerprints. Some people might not know what that means. What do you mean by latent fingerprints?
So latent fingerprints are basically fingerprints you can't see
Yeah,
with the naked eye
yeah.
so
So
easily. Anyway,
what if you got say an item and you could see the fingerprint? Say if there's a fingerprint in blood on it, what would you do then?
we would treat that with a specific treatment. So we have treatments that can enhance visual marks in
Yeah,
blood. We do also have visual prints not in blood that
yeah,
come across sometimes. So we always do a visual examination before we touch it,
yeah,
essentially, just to check that there aren't any visible fingerprints that aren't that obvious.
yeah. Because
So yeah, we'd always photograph those before we touch it and before we
yeah,
treat it.
because I guess yeah, if you've got a visible fingerprint and then you didn't correctly look at it and then you did a treatment on it, you could risk like
Oh yeah,
yeah, destroying that
definitely.
fingerprint. Yeah,
It does happen as well. Like if you maybe photograph a visual fingerprint, it doesn't always come up again with the treatment.
I see.
It can be, yeah, different. So
Yeah,
it's definitely worth doing. We always make sure we do that in case it is lost in treatment.
yeah. God, it sounds yeah, it's meticulous work, isn't it? But
I mean, yeah, a little
yeah.
bit. It's
That's,
easier than it sounds.
yeah, definitely. But I guess a lot of the swabbing of items, so say like phones and firearms, I would do at a scene. But there's going to be times where like phones are seized by police officers who don't swab
Yes,
it. So yeah,
exactly.
that's when someone like you would come in. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. So we sort of they are mostly seized by officers actually. And yeah, we take it into the lab. We sort of do the external areas and then take it all apart and do the inside
mm,
as well, if that's required.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk fingerprints, which is a big part
hmm
of your role. What decisions need to be made when items reach your department for basically fingerprint treatment?
So, basically, when we get the exhibits, first decision is what kind of treatment does it need? So that can depend on quite a few things. Firstly, the substrate. So basically, meaning what kind of material the exhibit is, if it has multiple materials, that kind of thing. So we measure that by how porous the material is, so how easily liquid or air passes through.
Yeah.
For example, paper is very porous, whereas plastic is classed as non-porous. Also, the condition of the item. So if it's been wet before, if it's really like, covered in mud, something like that. The level of crime. So, for example, with major crime, we do what's known as a full sequential set of treatments. So we kind of throw everything we can at it. Whereas volume crime, you pick like the best course of treatments
Mm.
for that surface. And then, as you mentioned before, if there's any visual fingerprints in blood, we have a specific treatment for that as well to enhance that
Mm.
further.
I see.
But yeah, quite a few things.
Yeah. So with volume crime, I guess you're not going to throw so many resources at it. So have you just got to make that decision yourself to pick your what you think is going to recover fingerprints best?
Yeah, essentially. So we make that judgment based on the surface. I feel like it's looking at it more like we always pick sort of the one best course of treatments, and then with the major crime, we just put every treatment
Mm.
that's suitable for that surface on it.
Mm.
So they're not necessarily the best course of treatments, but it has everything possible to maximize
Yeah.
the chance of getting fingerprints. So the volume crime jobs, they still do get, the best set of treatments. They just don't get the additional that might bring out, a few extra
I see. Yeah.
marks potentially.
Things that might have a lower success rate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
I gotcha. Okay. So are you able to explain some of the fingerprint techniques that you use?
Yes, of course. So yeah, as there's quite a lot of factors to obviously take into account, naturally there are a lot of different treatments that we can do. I'll take you through the main ones that we use. So with the porous items that I just mentioned, so like paper, cardboard, We would use ninhydrin, DFO, or physical developer. So ninhydrin is kind of our go-to primary treatment at the moment for paper, and it brings fingerprints up in a really nice sort of purple color.
Mm.
Um, However, if the paper is dark or black, we would then use DFO because that is a fluorescent treatment.
Mm.
So you use a light source to have a look at it in a dark room, and then you can see the marks come up in a nice sort of orange color against
Okay.
the dark background. So there's a nice contrast on that. And then physical developer, that's really just used for items that have been wet before.
I see.
So you can't use wet treatments on, you can't use DFO or NIN on things that have been wet because they react with amino acids and they get diluted with water. So
I see. So if anything's
they
been out
don't.
in the rain or something like that, you'd
Exactly.
want to know because then that would
Yeah,
affect your
exactly.
decision. I see.
Definitely, definitely. And then with our non-porous items, so any plastics, glass, that kind of thing, we tend to super glue fume them and then dye them with a fluorescent dye. So again, we need a specific light source so we can see the fingerprints. Um, and again, that the dye is just added because the super glue leaves sort of a white deposit, so you've got um, a white deposit that you're looking at, which obviously isn't always the best contrast. So the
No,
fluorescence just adds that
I see.
good contrast for imaging and stuff. And then for things that have been wet that are non-porous, we would use powder suspension, which is essentially like the powders you guys use at scenes, but in a suspension. It's kind of like paint. It's really fun to do. Like use a paintbrush and
I've,
just paint it all
yeah,
on. It's
I've
really
seen
good.
it before, and then I don't think I've seen anyone that's used it clean afterwards. Yeah,
No,
it goes
definitely
everywhere.
not. It does go everywhere. It's really fun to do though.
Yeah,
Definitely. So yeah, they're our main ones. Really the ones that we use most often.
yeah. Because I was looking at some exhibits the other day, and they were banknotes, um,
Oh yeah.
and they were like the £20 notes. So British currency, the £20 note is typically purple.
Yeah.
So I guess like a normal. Oh, I don't know now because the notes have changed, haven't they? They're more
They've
plasticky.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've changed our treatments on them as
Have
well.
you? So you've had to adapt, haven't you, to the
Yeah.
changing currency?
So with the purple £20 notes, so we do ninhydrin on them. Although ninhydrin comes out purple,
Yeah.
but they have. If you look at a banknote under a light source, they actually have fluorescence in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
So we don't use the fluorescent treatment on them because that can interfere.
I see.
So we do ninhydrin on those. But yeah, now we've changed to polymer notes. We do a different course of treatment. So we powder those and we powder suspend those.
I see.
And I believe, CAST, DSTL have done some, sort of validation work on that, treating that as a new
Yeah.
substrate, I guess.
I see. And they've kind of announced that this is the kind of standard that you should do, have they, when you get those banknotes?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't personally looked into it or seen it, but I know our lab has done verification on it based on
Okay.
their work, and that's why we do the powder and the powder suspension in
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Cool.
yeah, seen as the most effective.
Next question. You've developed a fingerprint on something. Then what happens?
So we examine each exhibit after each treatment it's had, and at this point we kind of mark the areas that we're interested in imaging, label those up, and then we send those over to the fingerprint experts who then carry out the actual, search, comparison, identification of the prints, basically.
I see. So
Yeah.
it's not actually your department that would investigate the fingerprints. It would be another department.
Yes, exactly. So the experts will do that, and they will sit at their computer and, look at the print that we've
Yeah.
recovered, look at maybe a suspect's prints and, sort of compare or do a search,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So again, it is the recovery part. We're there to sort of develop the prints, visualize them, image them, and then send those over.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
yeah, it would be handy if I had a fingerprint expert on this podcast. Wouldn't it?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it would be.
that
It
would
would
be,
be.
yeah, one for the future, I think.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
did ask someone, and yeah, the thought of being recorded, yeah, just didn't appeal to her. So I'll have
Oh,
to find
really?
someone else. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean they are down in Sussex,
yeah,
so you know.
yeah. I've got someone lined up that you just can't shut up. So I think he'd be well
That sounds
suited.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you've got laboratories that are ISO friendly. And so can you explain
Yes.
what this means? What is ISO friendly?
Okay, so basically, it means we've gained accreditation. So we've done this by implementing, certain systems, certain processes in accordance with the standards set by ISO. So we're audited every year so that we can demonstrate that we're maintaining these standards. If we're found not to be, we could lose our accreditation. Um, it's it's a challenge sometimes, but
Mm.
it's good. I'm sure you're experiencing some of that at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. The way I describe ISO is, yeah, it's like a set of rules that you've got to follow. But if you follow the rules, then your work is completely easy, really. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. It's just hard to get to the point of that accreditation, but once you're there, once you're
yeah,
maintaining, it's
yeah.
fine, really.
It's a lot of hoops to jump through, but yeah,
Yeah.
once you know how to do it all, you're like, yeah, an agility dog, just
Yeah,
at the finish line.
exactly.
Hooray!
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because I think back in the days we used to open up exhibits and we'd screen them back in our lab, and there was no kind of cleaning procedures in the labs. Obviously, we
Yeah.
would clean it, but there wasn't a standard set and things. So I think
Yeah.
now we can only open up exhibits for DNA, fingerprints, and whatnot if it's in like what we call an ISO friendly environment. So it'd be an
Yes.
environment that you have um, up at your office.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
DNA free
Yeah.
environment. So yeah, we've got all the cleans and everything in place for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's quite difficult sometimes explaining that to officers because obviously they're quite far from
Yeah.
anywhere near ISO, and it's quite hard explaining to them sometimes why we can't just do something within 10 minutes, that
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
or why they can't just open it up and do it themselves. We do get that sometimes where officers are like, oh, well, I'll just come and swab it for you, like I'll just come and do it, it'll take me 10 minutes. But
If
it
only it
doesn't
was
quite
that
work
easy.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I've had officers that have left like fingerprints behind at crime scenes, and I've had a conversation with them and said, if possible, could you pop on a pair of gloves? And
Yeah.
the response I get back is, I can try to, but the work that I do, even a split second could cost me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, at a scene where like I'm trying to apprehend someone. So yeah, there's only so
Yeah.
much I think officers can do and will always be able to do.
We've had that before actually, where we've had a statement to say like how it was we had this phone kind of seized in a some sort of detainment, and they said, oh, I didn't have time to put on gloves
Mm,
because of the situation, that kind of thing. So we do get statements through with that
mm,
sometimes, so that just slightly affects our strategy, but it doesn't always ruin the forensic
yeah, I th-
prospect.
I think with contamination, if you can look back and follow that contamination and see what the source is, then I think the main problem is that when you've got contamination, you've got no idea where it's come from. I'd imagine.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly. It's better to know rather than have to, guess and investigate it.
yeah. Um,
Uh,
so my next question is: your work is mainly in the lab, but do you venture out to scenes every now and then? I mean, you might venture out to a scene with yours truly. Who knows?
yes.
Fairly recently.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
So, what challenges do you face at scenes rather than in a lab?
Probably not forgetting anything, mainly. We're obviously very used to having, everything just right, within an arm's
Yeah.
reach. But no. So obviously we're used to working with exhibits. So, items that you can kind of maneuver, carry, that kind of thing. So obviously when we go to scenes, it tends to be something that can't be seized.
Mm.
So, like a wall or a floor,
Mm.
banister, that kind of thing. So we definitely need to adapt and consider different ways of, applying chemicals, where it's going to drip to, that kind of thing. Also, of course, the safety being a big difference. So obviously back in the lab, we've got all our fume cabinets, our areas that are specifically designed for our treatments. Whereas at a scene, obviously, you don't have that luxury. So we have to sometimes use special equipment just to ensure safety of ourselves
Mm.
and of, the public, people around us, people we're working with, you guys.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that can be quite a challenge. For example, this scene that we did go to and did some
Yeah,
work with you on, that was quite a closed off scene, and we couldn't open any windows
that's
near
right.
where we were working. So in that specific instance, we had to sort of find the nearest window that we could crack open, and then use some equipment. So we had sort of full face masks with tubes attached to a sort of ventilation system, which we had to hold by the window, that kind of thing, just to make sure that we were safe whilst applying all the chemicals, that kind of thing. So sometimes, it can be challenging with that. Um, Also, making sure that we communicate effectively with the crime scene manager just to, let them know what chemicals we've used,
Mm.
so the scene can be, kind of dealt with properly once we've left, like not leave any nasty stuff behind.
Yeah.
Because, it can, I think we used some ninhydrin at that scene as well on the walls, and obviously that soaks in and it will, just stay there
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
very long time.
So
So
it'll probably need a few licks of paint, wouldn't it, to get rid of
yeah,
that?
well, I think they have to actually remove
Like the
the
plaster, do they?
layer, the
Yeah.
plaster, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
But
But
yeah, it's really fun. Like we do love going to scenes.
yeah.
It's always nice to be challenged in that way.
Yeah. But yeah, because it must be kind of strange in a way. Like sometimes you've got this environment. It's a bit like an office environment. You know what is you're gonna face every time you walk into the
Yeah,
office. Right, there's my chair, there's my computer. I've got everything that I need. And then yeah, you'll go to a scene, and it might be that okay, so I'm going to walk in here, but there's no floor where I need to get,
yeah,
so I'm going to have to
yeah,
get
definitely.
scaffolding in, or I'm going to have to get
Like
harnessed in.
I know we've had scenes, sort of in a bus stop quite recently,
Yeah.
in a lift. Like there's a lot of different, as I'm sure you can imagine, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different sort of scenarios you can be faced with. Even I know we don't do our photography anymore. I know you guys do it. But I know people have had issues before where you're in like a very sort of narrow hallway and you can't actually,
Mm.
you know, get at the right angle to take a photograph, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a challenge, but it's a
Yeah.
nice one.
But I'm just
We all enjoy it.
I'm sure like the listeners are probably picturing like if they've got an office job, what would it be like if all of a sudden your computer was at a bus stop or in a lift?
Yeah,
It would take a
exactly.
bit of adjustment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess yeah, you've then like at a bus stop, you've got the weather. The weather could easily change, couldn't it? And you've got to be
Yeah,
mindful of the public, so that would have
yeah,
to be all
definitely.
cordoned off. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
definitely. Definitely get papped sometimes
Yeah.
as well.
Um. So the department you work for covers work for both Surrey and Sussex. So how do you cope with the demand from say both forces?
Well, it obviously gets really busy. at times, but we've got a really well balanced team with a lot of experience, a lot of willingness to help each other, which is really good,
Mm.
really necessary to keep on top of the deadlines. When we do have scenes, I'm sure you can imagine it takes a lot of resources, especially
Yeah.
sort of if it's, the other end of Sussex, it might take three people out for a few days, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, it's really great that we've got the team that are able to kind of handle that and support that, which is really good. Like we do work very well together, and we do have to sort of organize and prioritize our day every morning, essentially.
Mm.
Like you can't really, forecast the week all the time, because, we do get urgents, that kind of thing from Surrey and Sussex. Um, Come in. Like as soon as we try and plan a little bit ahead, we get an urgent.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
how it goes. So, but yeah, it is busy, but it's good. It's manageable,
Yeah.
definitely.
And what are your working hours like?
Um, so we used to cover weekends actually in work, but now we are on call instead at weekends. So we've moved to Monday to Friday,
Mm.
and then on call at the weekend, and we do earlies and lates. So that's 8 till 4 for an early and 12 till 8 for a late.
I see.
So yeah, not too bad. Not
Yeah.
like you guys.
Well, we only work normally up till 10, so there's only an extra two
Oh,
hours.
okay. Oh,
But
but you do on call overnight, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be
That
called
must
out.
be stressful.
Oh yeah, yeah. But now I've got a little baby. I feel like I'm pretty much called out every night.
Yeah, true,
But
very true.
so you wouldn't necessarily get called out overnight.
No, we don't cover Monday to Friday, we just cover the hours 8 till 8, like in
I
the
see.
office. And then the weekend it's 9 till 6 that
Yeah.
we're on call for.
So that could be if you've got, say, what, urgent lab work, would you
Yeah,
say?
so that would be, yeah, anything urgent to do DNA or fingerprint wise.
Yeah. So if you've got, say, for example, what we call a crime in action, so it could be that there's a kidnapping and we want to find whoever's done it because then that person's life is currently in risk.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
then I guess, yeah, if you've got like a mobile phone and you want to swab it for DNA before doing like the investigation to see what data's on the phone, then you could be called in to
Yes.
do that.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, we always do the DNA first before they know sort of what's on the phone.
yeah.
Because obviously then it would be compromised DNA wise.
So yeah,
But yeah, phones are probably the most common urgent exhibits we get in.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. So my last question, I think we've sort of covered this right at the beginning, but how did you get into the role?
Um, yes. So towards the end of my job at the pharmaceutical company, it basically took about a year and a half of applying for a lot of forensic based roles with forensic service providers, police forces, that kind of thing. Had a lot of interviews, had a lot of close calls. Very frustrating period of my life. The latest of those was a volume crime scene investigator
Oh
for
yeah,
Sussex. Um, so I didn't get one of the positions available, but I was next in line. So, you sort of go into a pool for 6 months.
yeah.
And yeah, they told me that they'd asked for five more positions. And because I was next in line, I was like, yes, it's gonna happen, five more positions. Um, yeah, so in the meantime, I applied for the forensic hub assistant role. So that's at the site that I'm at now.
Yeah.
So I got offered that. So I started that job whilst I sort of waited, hoping for my BCSI role to come up. Um, I also got offered a job with a forensic service provider at the same time, a year after I interviewed.
Oh God, crikey.
I know. It's like buses, they all came at once.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating because I'd literally just made the decision to sort of settle, move house. So I didn't take that. I stuck with the assistant job. And then, yeah, the VCS Psy role didn't come through. They ended up cutting that role, as
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, of course they did, yeah.
Um, but luckily, when I started as an assistant, I realised there was a forensic labs downstairs, which I didn't really know about. So that worked out quite well. So about 6 months into my job as an assistant, a role in the lab came up, which I applied for and got.
Yeah,
Um, I think mostly based on my previous experience with an accredited lab. Um, so yeah, it kind of all worked out for the best in the
yeah,
end. But it was definitely a very long, difficult process
yeah.
to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to me because I was trying for a year to get in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'd just go for interview after interview, and yeah, you just get
Yeah,
knocked back all the time, and you've got to motivate yourself to think,
it
no,
is.
if I stick at it, I can do it. And then yeah, I got a job as a post clerk in the in the department, just
Really?
like opening letters and things.
Oh,
And yeah,
nice.
that I was at for like 6 months, and yeah, it just all
Yeah.
happened so quickly after that. It was just yeah, just wanted a foot in the
Yeah,
door when I was young, and yeah,
that's it, isn't it? It's getting in that's the hardest
yeah,
part. It's
yeah,
getting in because so many people apply for these jobs. Like, obviously they think it's like it is on TV. It's the dream, you know. Obviously the reality is very different,
yeah,
but it's a really sought after sort of career, I think. Um, so it is really challenging to get in,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I think there's like lots of university courses that do this, and not enough jobs for everyone to go around.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. I think when we started my forensics course, they basically said, "Oh, you're going to really struggle to get a job because the forensic science service, it's gone now. Everything's collapsing. It's going
uh,
to be a struggle."
that's just the pep
Um,
talk you want, isn't
yeah,
it? When
I
yeah,
know.
you've
We're all
chosen
like,
this career.
"Oh,
Oh
yeah."
dear. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sure
It's
that
been
that's
good.
been so detailed, and I think everyone's probably got a much better idea now of what goes on in our forensic recovery unit and the lab
Yeah.
up in Surrey. So no, that's been brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Adele.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks very much.
This is crime scene investigator Chris G signing off. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow my social media at CSI Chris G. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the next crime scene.